There we go. There's a lot older than that. Now, my rant's pretty simple. Patrick Mahomes is a bitch. And this is the whole thing about him being a bitch with that fro hair sticking out of his helmet the other day. And that stupid-ass fro hair sticking out. And he's like, yeah, man, it's arrested. And whining and acting like he cares. He couldn't fight a flea, man. Me and my band would have taken that motherfucker out. And, like, you could have you could have blindfolded me. You could have given me 16 beers and just been in the general facility of that guy, and I'd kick the shit out of him. But and that's in that damn wife of his. Good gosh, please. But the bottom line is, I mean, geez Louise. It ain't gonna be too long before that thing's gone. But here nor there, yiping about the refs. That team has gotten more bullshit calls.
You should never get fucking stopped. 2 offensive touchdowns the last 2 games is fucking embarrassing. There's one problem with the offense, and his name is Jalen Hurts. And I call him one read Jalen because it's one read and fucking run. And if he was smart and knew anything better, he wouldn't even do one read. He just fucking snapped the ball and run because it's the only goddamn thing he can do. He can't do anything well. He can run. He's a good athlete. He's a below average quarterback. That's the fucking truth. We've seen it the last 2 weeks. He's struggled against good teams, and we're going to see him continue to struggle. And all this bullshit about how good he played in the Super Bowl, bullshit. 3 tush pushes on the
You're lucky your dad's not in
3 tush pushes.
He'd be going after you.
And he's not the black Tom Brady. He's one read Jalen. That's who he is. You put any other quarterback behind that Eagles offensive line with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, with Dallas Goedert, you name it, you get a pretty good offensive coordinator. You have last year you had one of the best defenses in football, and they still couldn't win a fucking Super Bowl, and they're not going to win one this year. And I'm fucking tired of the Eagles.
Welcome to the Slobberknocker Sports Podcast, your hub for all things sports. Now here are your hosts, Dylan and Turner.
Welcome into the Slobberknocker Sports Podcast. I am your host, Dylan Leake, joined as always with my man Turner. We are here for episode 11, back again. Been having some great support out there. I think we had about 6,000 views on our last video. So thank you guys for watching. Keep the comments coming. It helps the algorithm. Getting us more views and helping us create more content. Again, I think we've been mentioning it. We're going to be moving to, hopefully, next week to our new studio. It's
pretty sweet.
It's pretty sweet.
Big Dog put something nice together.
He did. Got to hand it to him. Give him some credit where credit's due.
That's right.
He was irritating me last week on the podcast, I have to admit. But he's done a good job with that, I will say. But we'll jump right into the Eagles Cowboys, and the Cowboys exposed the Eagles yesterday. 33-13 victory. Dak Prescott seized control of the MVP race, whether we agree with that or not. He was 24 for 38 for 271 and 2 touchdowns. Didn't have a pick. He did have a key fumble, which kept the Eagles alive in the game. But Dallas's offense looks maybe like the best in the league. It's probably them or San Francisco for the best offensive team in the league. Dak looks like maybe the best quarterback in the league right now. The defense played pretty well last night. The Eagles did not score an offensive touchdown in the game. Dallas's upcoming schedule: at Buffalo, at Miami, versus Detroit, versus Washington. Can they win out?
No, I don't think so. I think we talked a little bit about this last night, but I think my big one, which I told you, is I just don't see them going into Buffalo in December and winning that game. I just can't see it. I know they've looked so good, but I know deep down they're still the Cowboys, and it seems like just when you think they've turned the corner and they're maybe the most dominant team in football, they throw in a stinker, which they did early in the year to the Cardinals, and I think we could both agree they just weren't ready to play for that.
Yeah.
Ready to play, whatever it may be. Plus, that's not a tough place to play. There's probably more Cowboys fans than Cardinals fans there, and indoors. So, Buffalo, though, in December is a different kind of beast. Buffalo's playing for their season as well. It's not a first-round bye or anything for them. It's, can we get in the playoffs?
Right.
McDermott's coaching for his job. I mean, there's just a lot on the line for Buffalo. And I know you can say that there's obviously a lot on the line for Dallas, too, but things are going to have to go their way to get that first-round bye, and I just think it's a much more important game for the Bills that I see them winning. So, but we talked about the other games. I do think they can win those other 3 games. I know at Miami, Miami's been playing the other toughest one. They'll beat Detroit at home. They own the Commanders. They'll beat them. So Is it back-to-back weeks, Buffalo, then Miami?
Yeah, it's at Buffalo, at Miami.
Tough
stretch.
To win both of them would be – I mean, I think they would be if they get out of these 2 games 1-1, I know that isn't necessarily what they need or after the bye, but if they get out of it 1-1, I would say that's a job well done. I do think they will lose in Buffalo. I do think they'll win in Miami.
Yeah, and that loss that you mentioned to the Arizona Cardinals earlier in the year looms large because you take that loss away, which is really the only bad loss Dallas has. The only other 2 losses are at San Francisco and at Philadelphia. Nothing to scoff about in either of those losses. But if they win that game, they're currently sitting in first, and they control their own destiny with the chance to actually win out and get the number 1 seed. Funny enough, Dallas currently sits in first place in the NFC East. However, according to what I read last night, if both teams win out, Philadelphia would win the division. So actually, Dallas is in a really tough spot here, even though they're currently ahead of them, because apparently the 3 tiebreakers, if both teams were to win out, would go down to conference record. And I guess they already calculate out, right? Like if both teams win out, Philadelphia would have the better conference record.
Yeah, it was kind of confusing when they were showing it last night. We're like, why would that be?
Right.
Why would, if they win this, would they only have a 35% chance of winning the division? Obviously, they have the tougher schedule.
Right.
But you'd think, okay, well, maybe both teams go 3-1, whatever. But yeah, like you said, Philly would hold the tiebreaker.
Right. So, and you look at Philly's schedule. I believe they've got New York twice, the Commanders,
Tommy DeVito and the boys.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. I know they've got they're at Seattle next week. That's the lone game that I think that they could lose. They're at Seattle, then they're home against the Giants, home against the Cardinals, at the Giants. So pretty much, the easiest schedule remaining for any playoff team.
Yeah.
If they can win in Seattle next week, they're probably going to get the division. However, I don't see San Francisco losing again. Looking at their schedule, they win out. San Francisco will get the 1 seed because they have that head-to-head tiebreaker over Philly. But speaking of the Eagles, let's talk a little bit about them. Again, we mentioned it last night. They had no offensive touchdowns, right? Their lone touchdown came on a fumble recovery defensive touchdown. It was, I believe, in the 3rd quarter when Dallas had full control of the game, led by 18 before that fumble return for a touchdown. And the last 2 games, 2 total touchdowns for the Eagles offense. We know this defense has struggled. We've mentioned this before, right? Secondary, 28th against the pass overall in the season. They've been horrific. Even adding Kevin Byard from Tennessee has not helped. I mean, they've arguably gotten worse. Now they've played a gauntlet of a schedule. They faced, Mahomes and Josh Allen and Dak twice. So I get it. But Philly's been outscored in the 2 games. Everybody talks about Dallas being the team that can't beat good teams. In the 2 games Philly's played, the best 2 teams in the NFC, Dallas and San Francisco, they were outscored 75-32. Does Philly have big concerns here? Because you look at a team, they're 10-3, right? They've beaten the Cowboys. They have some good wins. Should there be concern in Philadelphia here?
I think so. I don't think they have, unless they play the Cowboys at home during the playoffs, which they very well could. They could win a home playoff game against the Cowboys. They certainly won't win on the road against the Cowboys, and I don't think they can beat San Francisco, obviously either place, but it's more than likely going to be in San Francisco. They just, I don't know what it is. Offense kind of maybe not quite as good, but, right there-ish, but the defense is just taken such a big step back. And I don't know everybody who they lost, but, that secondary is just getting sliced and diced down the field. It is not good. So, and, I touched on it last night when we were talking. They really should have lost 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
You could say they could have lost all 4, but I'd say, look, Buffalo or Kansas City, they should have split them. And then, Valdez-Scantling dropping that touchdown cost the Chiefs the game. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. The Bills should have stopped them from kicking a 60-yard field goal in horrible weather. The miscommunication with Josh Allen and Gabe Davis in overtime, which could also ended the game.
Yep.
So there's a lot of different things, but in reality, they got their ass kicked by the Cowboys and the Niners. Probably should have split the games against. It was a gauntlet 4 games for them. It was very tough. But I just the offense, I feel, could come around and score in the playoffs. They're tough to stop with everything they do, and the way they run the ball and the way they sneak the ball. but I just don't think the defense can win a Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, it's a problem, man. Like if you look at last night, I mean, the Cowboys offense put up 33, and if we're being honest, they really weren't pushed to do so. Like, there was never a point in the game where it's like, oh, if they, we got to really like go down and score here. They were up the majority of the game by 2 scores. And so, you could tell very much, we talked about it when we were watching it together. The Cowboys got much more conservative in the second half, and they still put up 33. I really, truly believe if Philadelphia's offense scores last night a couple times, that Dallas could have put up in the 40s, maybe even like high 40s. Like, it could have been 2 more touchdowns. But, yeah, the Eagles' defense is horrific. Dude, you look at it, they could have lost week 1 to the fucking Patriots. They probably should have. Both times they played the Commanders, they could have lost. One went to overtime. The other one, it took like Sam Howell basically collapsing at the end of the game for them to lose, or for them to win. They should have lost the first time they played Dallas. Dallas had a 1st and goal at the 6-yard line with 35 seconds to go. We already talked about they should have lost one to the Bills or the Chiefs. It's funny. This team very easily is a couple plays away, and this is not an exaggeration. They're a couple plays away from having like 5 or 6 losses.
Oh yeah. Well, they won so many close games. They're almost kind of, and people don't put them in the same category as the Vikings, but they won so many close games. They're like the Vikings last year, where they were 8-0 in 1-score games or something like that.
Exactly.
And then they get the doors blown off them by the Cowboys and the 49ers. So, I think Philly fans are panicking at least a little bit. I mean, I think probably before this stretch, you think they got a really good chance of winning the Super Bowl. Them or the Niners probably. And now, after this stretch, you realize, okay, we're not as our defense isn't going to hold up like we need it to potentially win a Super Bowl. So
everybody just thinks I'm a hater. I get labeled as a hater.
Well, you are a and listen, I don't like him near as much as your dad. Black Tom Brady. You're a Black Tom Brady hater. That's for sure. You definitely are, because your dad likes him, and I agree with you that he's kind of a one-read guy. He plays behind an awesome offensive line, and he's throwing to a Heisman Trophy winner and a top 5 receiver in football, and a pretty decent tight end. He's got a lot of weapons. He an embarrassment of riches, if you will, and like you said, probably the best offensive line in football. So
I think the best offensive line in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. I mean, you could make an argument that maybe someone,
add in the fucking tush push. And it's like, you should never get fucking stopped. 2 offensive touchdowns the last 2 games is fucking embarrassing. There's one problem with the offense, and his name is Jalen Hurts. And I call him one read Jalen, because it's one read and fucking run. And if he was smart and knew anything better, he wouldn't even do one read. He just fucking snapped the ball and run, because it's the only goddamn thing he can do. He can't do anything well. He can run. He's a good athlete. He's a below-average quarterback. That's the fucking truth. We've seen it the last 2 weeks. He's struggled against good teams, and we're going to see him continue to struggle. And all this bullshit about how good he played in the Super Bowl, bullshit. 3 tush pushes on the to score touchdowns.
Dad's not in
3
here.
tush pushes.
He'd be going after you.
And he's not the Black Tom Brady. He's one read Jalen. That's who he is. You put any other quarterback behind that Eagles offensive line with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, with Dallas Goedert, you name it, you get a pretty good offensive coordinator. You have last year you had one of the best defenses in football, and they still couldn't win a fucking Super Bowl, and they're not going to win one this year. And I'm fucking tired of the Eagles.
They're not going to win one this year, that's for sure.
I was so happy last night that they shit on all over themselves.
They got smoked.
Jalen threw up on his shirt multiple times in that game. But we'll move on to a controversial ending to a game with the Kansas City Chiefs. And we all saw it yesterday. If you watched the games, they were trailing by, I believe, 3, right? They were trailing by 3.
Yeah, they were down 3.
20-17. And it came down to, I believe it was something like a 3rd and 5 around there. And I mean, the Bills' season on the line looked like we both thought the Chiefs were going to go down and get at least a field goal. We thought 100%. I think they were very close to field goal range right there. One more first down.
They're about at the 50, I think. Yeah, 45, 50.
Right. One more first down would have done it. I think it was a 3rd down and 5, if I remember correctly. And we saw the flag come out right when this play started. We weren't sure if it was a procedure or if it was offsides. And obviously, the ball is thrown to Kelce. It's a strike. He's wide open. And we have this wild fucking play where he laterals the ball backwards to Kadrius Toney. And Kadrius Toney, for about 3 seconds, thought he was the hero and he had redeemed all the shit he's done the last, 7 or 8 games. And instead, he becomes the villain once again, because the flag is for an offsides and it's on the offense. And this is the controversial part of it. Now, I heard, I'll go ahead and give my quick take on this, okay? We heard from Gene Steratore and from a couple other people yesterday. Every single main official who talked about this said this call was correct. It's been a point of emphasis all year. We saw it in week 1. We saw this called in the first game, Kansas City and Detroit, and the commentators said this is a point of emphasis this year. They're going to call offsides on the offense a lot more. It's been called going into last night 11 times this year, whereas it's been called 3 times the 2 previous years combined. We saw it called last night on the Philadelphia Eagles. And you didn't see anybody whining about it then. Now, we don't need referees to tell us that this was offsides. Anyone with 2 fucking eyes could see that Kadrius Toney was a full yard offsides. I mean, the entirety of his body was past the ball, and the Chiefs, whether they score or not there, is irrelevant. I was so annoyed, and I know you were too, with Patrick Mahomes going out there and acting like this referee decided the game and wanted to, watch the play unfold and then threw the penalty. The penalty was thrown at the beginning of the play.
Yeah, he had no idea that was going to unfold.
Exactly.
And he got it right.
He got it right.
The guy was lined up a yard offside. It wasn't even close. If it's something like somewhat of a judgment and it looks like a little bit. He was covering the whole ball. You couldn't even see the fucking ball. His head was lined up with a Bills player. You see the guy who's lined up correctly, and he's a full yard and a half behind him.
Yep.
And Steratore, one of the refs, pointed that out. I mean, it's stupid, and they touched on it on part of my take a little bit. I was telling you, it's absolutely hysterical that you have the Chiefs complaining about a call that was rightfully called that decided a crazy play in the regular season and said officials need to quit deciding games, yet the officials decided the Super Bowl with a hold in the end zone last year.
A very questionable it's a 50-50 call in the regular season. It was called in the Super Bowl to decide the game.
Patrick Mahomes gets what he thinks is an unfair shake. And I get in a way what he's saying, like that's never been called in the 7 years. But like you said, and all the officials said, it's a point of emphasis this year. They even said it. And then, Andy Reid's like, well, he should have got a warning. The guy's in the fucking slot a yard and a half offsides. He can't get a warning.
Right.
If Toney looked at the official,
and pointed,
he would have told him, you're offsides,
right.
Move back. He didn't do that. He just lined up a yard and a half offsides and ran her out. And, of course, it was a cool play. I told you, I've said it for years, especially late in games. I'm not an advocate of doing it like in the second quarter, but the lateral is the most underutilized play in football.
Yep.
When there's a minute left or whatever it was, and this was still kind of batshit crazy for him to throw it because all they needed was a field goal. And if you actually look, the guy almost gets a hand on it.
And it was far. It was not like an easy throw.
He threw a great ball to him. It was right on the money. But my whole point is that's, when if you're down 4 in that situation and not a field goal to tie it, you do it. You know how Travis Kelce is. He does all kinds of crazy stuff.
He's not thinking about the fact that we're down a field goal.
No.
He's thinking
I'm
he's
gonna
open. I'm going to make a play.
Yeah. But and he's done it a few times in his career. But, yeah, for teams that need to go down the field like in a minute and they don't have any timeouts,
right.
You got to you don't have to wait for the last play of the game. Throw it to someone and then see who's open across the field and chunk it back, see if you can get a big play.
Right.
But like the play, but have zero problem with him throwing a flag that should have been thrown with a guy that's offsides by a yard and a half.
Yeah, and let's be real here. Kadrius Toney is an Albert fucking Einstein, okay? The guy is not the brightest of the bunch, and, he's made quite a few mistakes in his tenure with the Chiefs. That's why the Giants, who drafted him very early, punted on him very quickly because he has talent. He's obviously very fast and athletic, and he's got, skills, but he makes stupid mistakes. Like you said, if he just pointed at the official like any receiver would do there, normally, you see it 50 times a game. The receiver points, am I good, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what they do. I watch high school teams where receivers do it every single play. Like the fact that you are that far offsides and then, don't ask and then you're going to complain about it. And the fact that, to me...
He was in the slot, too.
Yeah, he was in the slot. Yeah? Yes, it was ridiculous.
Jesus.
What bothers me, though, the most about it is I looked on Twitter and saw a lot of the videos of what transpired after it, and it's not just that Mahomes threw an absolute hissy fit after. That okay, like everybody has bad moments. Like he looked like an idiot doing it, but it's the fact of how it continued to. He went and when Josh Allen was telling him like good game, we don't know what Josh Allen said to him, but he essentially went up to him and high-fived him. They gave a hug, and I heard they had like an enhanced audio of it. He literally the entire time was like, "Fucking game decided on the fucking offside, just offensive offsides, unfucking believable." Like that's what he was saying to Josh Allen as Josh Allen was saying good game to him. He looked like a fucking child. Like just grow up. Like you lost the game. Josh Allen. They showed a play on the game. Like I was looking at Twitter and they showed a play earlier in the game on the final drive where Josh Allen gets knocked in the head, and it would have been a 15-yard penalty. It was on third down, and it would have ended the game right there because they would have been able to run the clock out and kick a field goal. Mm-hmm. And you don't see Josh Allen complaining. Like, I mean, he wouldn't have come out in the press conference and been like, "Well, if they called this hit to the head, we would have won the game." Like, you still had the ball 3rd and 10 after that with a chance to win the game. And you didn't get a first down. You had a 3rd and 10. You needed 1 first down to win the game. Couldn't do it, or to at least get a field goal. And then you go into the press conference and say the same shit. And Andy Reid, I truly believe this. I think Andy Reid knows that was the right call. And I think he's doing it just because Mahomes threw a hissy fit.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. That's what he's doing. He's supporting him, trying not to lose he's not going to say, "Oh, we can't have Patrick acting like that." He'll probably say something to him, during the week or whatever. But he's going to support him through it. And, he feels like Mahomes feels like they got an unfair shake, which is hilarious because the week before, obviously, the no PI call, which in the NFL, it just drives me crazy. In that situation, it has to be, and they definitely missed that one. I get it. But it needs to be, if you're going to throw a 60-yard penalty that decides the game, it better be assault on the outside where he had 0 chance of catching the ball. And that's why I think they just need spot fouls are so stupid for pass interference.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, there should not be a 60-yard penalty because in some of them it's like the guy bumped them. If it's one where you grab him by the face mask and drag him down, or it's something absolutely egregious, you should be able to make a call and let these officials actually do their job, which we really don't want to give them any more judgment, but they already have. But
I don't either.
When it comes to the 5 or 15-yard face mask too, like they used to have, like that should be a thing too.
Yeah, no, we talked about this. Agreed.
I mean, if you pull someone's head off, it's a 15-yard penalty. If you graze their face mask on the running back, it's 5 yards. Same thing should be for pass interference. You throw the ball up 60 yards, maybe he's a little bit too physical. Should be a 15-yard penalty.
Right.
If he grabs you by the back of the horse collar and pulls you down so you don't score a touchdown, it's different.
Right.
So
and there should be degrees of that, and some of those plays should be reviewable, I think, as well. We've talked about that. But in general, you go back to the AFC title game and Mahomes talking about officials deciding the game. How about last year when they played the Bengals when he's running down the sideline? And it was kind of the same type deal as this. Like
it was bang bang.
It was bang bang, but by letter of the law, it was a late hit. But that could be let go because it's one of those where the quarterback's running on the sideline. You don't know, is he going to step out? Is he not? He does step out, and as he steps out, the guy hits him. That 15-yard penalty won them the game. And the official did what? He decided the game. Well, that was the correct call.
Yeah.
And people got over that. He didn't say anything about that. That's fine. Oh, the official decided both, not only the Super Bowl, but the AFC title game. So he was the beneficiary of 2 penalties that year to win a Super Bowl. So he just needs to Patrick just needs to shut the fuck up. He needs to shut the fuck up. It's a bad look for him. Like, it looks like, oh, we haven't lost 2 in a row in a long time, and now things aren't going well for us. Let me act out. Like, grow up. You took a $50 million contract. Understandably, he's worth it. He's incredible. He's one of the best ever. But that is why this is happening, not because of the officials, because you took all the money and now you have no money to spend on receivers. That's why Tyreek Hill is gone. That's why your best fucking receiver is Rashee Rice, who fumbled the ball in a key moment yesterday. How about talk about that? So I'm tired of Mahomes bitching and complaining. Do what Tom Brady did and take a fucking $20 million pay cut so your team can be good enough to go to Super Bowls and win consistently. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. That's my opinion on it.
He's not going to do that. But
no, he never will.
I completely agree.
Last question for you.
Completely agree.
Well, last question for you on the Chiefs. 2 weeks ago, they were first in the AFC.
Yep.
Now they're 8-5. They're 1 game ahead of the Broncos in their own division, who started 1-5. It's wild. Broncos sit 7-6 after the win yesterday, and the Chiefs sit 8-5, and those two teams split their division. So if they get into a tie, I don't know. It would come down to the similar thing like the Cowboys and the Eagles. But
well, doesn't it go by divisional?
Oh, you're right.
First?
You're right.
And they beat the Chargers. The Broncos
lost to the Raiders the first game.
Yeah,
so I think the Broncos would have to win out, and the Chiefs would have to lose one more to a divisional opponent.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, my point being is, a couple weeks ago we sat in here, and I agree with you. I agreed with you when we were talking about this. The Chiefs looked like, even though they don't have a number one receiver, even though they look like they're not, clicking on offense, they had a really good defense. We thought the defense was for real. They haven't looked as good the last couple weeks. But 2 weeks later, they're on the outside looking in of the 1 seed. They're probably going to play as the 3 or the 4 seed more than likely, and there's a chance they even drop to 5 or 6. So, tell me this, if you're a Chiefs fan right now, what's your panic meter at from a 1 to 10?
Maybe I would say right in the middle at a 5. I mean, obviously it's been a bad 2 weeks, but the game against Buffalo, everybody expected to be close. People know that the Bills are on paper much better than their record. Going to Lambeau and losing hurts. You need to win that game. So, I mean, they couldn't get a stop in that game. I just don't, I don't know. I just don't see them winning the Super Bowl, I guess, this year, just because we've touched on it with the receivers. The defense, for a while, the defense was looking good enough that, maybe they could do it without any receivers, but now it just doesn't. It doesn't seem like it, but the AFC is just so open, right? I mean, it's like, who's going to – can we say the bona fide favorites are the Ravens? No, they always get beat in the playoffs. So,
yep.
And, I mean, I've touched on it before, and I think I've said it in some other podcasts. I think if the Bills beat the Cowboys and they get in, I think they got as good a chance as anybody to get through the AFC. Obviously not going to really have home field advantage or anything like that. Probably won't even get to play a home playoff game, but I think they'll beat the Dolphins in the playoffs if they played them. I think they would, if they played the Chiefs, they definitely could beat them. So I would put the panic meter at a 5. I think that the Chiefs are going to still end up winning that division. They won't end up with the 1 seed, though.
Right.
So they're not going to have home field advantage throughout. But I do think at this point, if they had to go up and play the Ravens in Baltimore in a playoff game, I think I'd probably pick Baltimore to beat them. I don't know.
Man, it would be such a coin toss because I just don't trust Baltimore at all.
Neither do I. I don't trust Lamar or Baltimore. He's just prone to turnovers. Obviously, he's an electric player, but it's especially, it seems like when he gets cold, he just drops the ball. He holds it like Mike Vick running around just in one hand, and it's just the ball could, especially when it gets cold, just pop out of your hand. So
I will say though, looking at kind of the schedule remaining, the Dolphins and the Ravens both do have pretty tough schedules to end the season. But
the Ravens only have 3 losses, correct?
Right. So
and the Chiefs aren't going to catch.
And so they play. The Ravens have at the Jaguars, at the 49ers, versus the Dolphins, versus the Steelers. Pretty tough schedule.
Yeah, that is a pretty tough schedule.
And then the Dolphins, on the other hand, they've got they got the Titans tonight, obviously. Then they got the Jets, which they'll win, but they finish versus the Cowboys, at the Ravens, versus the Bills. So both those teams, if Kansas City were to win out, could they still get it? Yeah. Do we think they're going to? Probably not the way they're playing right now. I mean, I don't trust Kansas City past my nose right now. I don't see them as a real Super Bowl contender. And you look at the Chiefs' schedule at the Patriots versus the Raiders versus the Bengals at the Chargers. They have the easiest schedule remaining by far.
They could definitely run off 4 in a row of that. That's for sure.
I mean, they're going to beat the Patriots. We're going to beat the Raiders. Can they beat the Bengals, who were playing better, and at the Chargers last week? But I don't know. But you've heard it all week long in the last couple of weeks. Patrick Mahomes has never played a road playoff game, and it looks more and more like he's going to have to this year. And they haven't been great on the road. So we'll see what happens going forward with that. Let's move on real quick to topic number 3. We'll talk about Mr. Joe Flacco. And just like that, he is back, baby. Joe, I don't even know how old he is. He's got to be getting up there in age. Threw for 311 yards yesterday, 3 touchdowns in a win. And just, a couple weeks ago, I think, hey, look, the Browns are like that stepchild who's been, abused and kicked and stepped on, and everybody just feels bad for them, so you kind of pull for them. So a couple of weeks ago, it was like, man, I really hope they get in the playoffs.
They're kind of like the Lions, right?
Right.
They've been through enough.
New York Jets, same type of deal, right? Like, these poor guys, like, they've been abused enough. We got to root for them. But I don't think any of us believe that if P.J. Walker or Dorian Thompson-Robinson was the quarterback, they had any chance to do anything.
No, they got a better chance of Flacco now.
They sure do.
He's
And
been there, done that. He can manage a game with the defense. So.
That's what I was going to ask you. So, like, over the 2 games, he's thrown for 565 yards in 2 games and 5 touchdowns. They very well could have won the first game in his first start. He was coming in cold off the couch, right? Like, hadn't played in a year. They win yesterday over the Jaguars, who had Trevor Lawrence, and they were the number 1 seed a week ago. They finish with the Bears at home, at the Texans, versus the Jets, at the Bengals.
Bears, Texans, Jets,
Bengals. Very manageable schedule.
I think they'll go 2-2 during that time, but they'll squeak in the playoffs.
So that was going to be my question. They're currently minus 300 to make the playoffs with a win yesterday.
I think if they go 2-2, they should get in. I think with the way the standings are.
Can they win some playoff games?
Not some. They might be able to win 1.
Okay.
Now, if they had Nick Chubb, I'd say maybe they could win 2.
Yeah.
And they have.
That's a good point.
I mean, because I just think he's so damn good, and he's a workhorse. But I think that it's almost. I like what they're doing now, throwing the ball and kind of airing it out. I think when you see them in the playoffs, they're probably going to run it 35, 40 times, and then just hard play action fakes with Flacco.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's throwing the ball well. And listen, this is what he did in Baltimore, right? I mean, typically he take care of the ball, rely on a good defense, but he will do that. I think they're going to get in. I think they could potentially win 1 playoff game.
I'll be pulling for them.
I wouldn't be surprised in, say, for example, say the Dolphins don't get the bye and somehow have to play the Browns in the first round of the playoffs. I could see the Browns beating the Dolphins.
Ugly type of game.
I know. I guess some people probably think I'm crazy saying that.
No, I agree with you.
I mean, they have the better defense. They can run the ball a little bit better. I mean, I know that the Dolphins hit big plays here and their offensive stats are inflated, but in a playoff game,
play some ball control and shorten the game and get into a variance type of game. But
it could happen.
It can happen.
Sure.
To me, and tell me, I think Kevin Stefanski is the coach of the year this year. Obviously, D'Amico Ryans has done a great job with the Texans, but dude, they're on their 4th quarterback. They've been through 4 quarterbacks. They lost Nick Chubb for the year in game 2. They lost their number 1 offensive lineman in week 2 or week 1. Week 1. They've lost 3 of their 5 starting offensive linemen this year. Amari Cooper's missed time. David Njoku's missed time. I mean, the defense has even had injuries.
When you mention all that, I would say, I mean, it's probably going to be tough. If the Texans somehow make the playoffs, it'll be tough not giving it to D'Amico Ryans
true.
just because they were so bad last year. But when you mention all those things, Stefanski's got to be towards the top of the list. That's for sure.
He's been.
I mean, it is funny how you bring Flacco in off the street and you just think, and it's weird, but you just kind of think that they can. Now you're thinking, they can make the playoffs and maybe even potentially win a game, which is weird because it's like, certainly don't think Joe Flacco's elite, but there is something to say about a guy who's been there before and won games, So he won a Super Bowl, didn't he? Flacco?
He won a Super Bowl with the Ravens.
Yeah.
And then he got a big contract and didn't play well after that. But
hey,
how
it happens to a lot of people.
How dumb are the Jets? He was in that organization last year. He knows the offense, and you have Aaron Rodgers go down. Why would you not go get that dude? Instead, you have Tim, or I don't even know, is it Tim Boyle?
Yeah, Tim Boyle. But they brought Boyle in just because he's friends with Rodgers, and they were never going to get rid of Wilson. The thing about the Jets, the reason Flacco works obviously better with Cleveland is, first of all, they can actually run the ball. The Jets they just couldn't run the ball. They didn't respect Flacco enough to, and when it comes to Cleveland, first and foremost, you have to just try to stop the run, so he gets a lot more one-on-one matchups, I'm sure, on the outside. I haven't watched him play a lot, but I just don't think this year with the Jets, I mean, as we know, they were always going to keep Wilson, right? I mean, they weren't going to give up on him this year, so.
He looked good yesterday.
Yeah, looked real good.
300 yards.
I mean, I don't expect to necessarily see it again, but
No,
he looked really good.
But again, it's hard for me to make again, I don't think Zach Wilson's good.
Yeah.
But it is really hard for me to make evaluations when you look at, that offense last year was pretty bad. And then you look at this year, and when you have a child calling your offense and Nathaniel Hackett, it's very difficult to evaluate. They had 0 points in the first half yesterday. Wilson didn't play bad. There is something to be said about that. Like, if the guy's throwing for 300 yards and they ended up putting up 30, but that was because they had some defensive takeaways and scores. But, man, Nathaniel Hackett, it really is just the worst ever. And Aaron Rodgers might have ruined that franchise forever.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Wilson going forward from here is just going to be one of those elite backups that you pay like $3 million a year to have on your bench. When you have a good team where it's like,
right.
Okay, he's not good, but he's proven that he can win some games, right?
Yeah, and if
you
I
bring
think,
him in on a good team, maybe
right.
you can go 500, a game below 500, so kind of steady the ship, and he gives you at least an opportunity or chance to win a game.
And I think
certainly you don't want him as a starter.
No, you don't want him as a starter unless he just continues. But he's shown like he had that game against the Chiefs where he looked really good.
Yeah.
And this game yesterday looked really good.
And then he'll have a game where he throws 3 interceptions and have 66 yards and fumble.
Yes.
And you're just like, what the hell is going on? Why does he?
It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I do think having Aaron Rodgers around there probably was the best thing that ever happened to him. I don't think we would have seen games like we did against the Chiefs or yesterday if Aaron Rodgers wasn't there. But again, like you said, it's not like he's going to turn into some really good player. Quickly, we'll touch on the Texans. They were dominated by the Jets, speaking of Wilson. C.J. Stroud comes back down to earth. 30-6, the Texans lose. C.J. Stroud suffers a concussion late in the game, but he did not play well whatsoever. I think he threw for a total of 90 yards. He was 10 for 23 for 90 yards.
Wow.
Didn't play well at all, and he didn't go out until late in that game. I mean, they could not move the ball on New York. It was 0-0 at halftime.
Well, I think also what had to have happened is he also, Tank Dell got hurt last game, and Nico Collins got hurt like on the first play of this game.
Oh, he did?
In the first quarter. So you think he had I think that was pretty
fair.
much, you lose your 2 top receivers, especially as a rookie when you're not really, on the same page with maybe many other people on the
Right.
team. Certainly doesn't help. But we both agreed that it was a tough spot for the Texans. I think we both picked the Jets in that game.
We did.
I think Zach Wilson
both of us said if
plays-
Zach Wilson plays, we take the Jets.
I wasn't going to say the Jets would win with Boyle, obviously.
Right.
But, Jets, it's a tough place for a rookie to go play. And weather wasn't great, right? Wasn't it?
No, and Stroud's been bad in weather,
Yeah.
and he's been really bad in away games. His splits are staggering.
Yeah.
In home games, he's thrown 16 touchdowns. In the same amount of games on the road, he's thrown 4. He throws 5% lower completion percentage. He's thrown for 1,000 less yards on the road. I mean, he just doesn't play. His quarterback rating has dropped significantly.
I believe it, especially as a rookie. I mean, it's just you obviously don't want splits that different.
Right.
But, at least he's doing what he is doing at home. And then maybe next year, learn to play on the road a little bit better. It's probably quite the learning curve trying to do that and, communicate and whatever on the road. But, I didn't realize his splits were that bad. I know he was having a good year, but I didn't realize it was that big of a difference.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad. All right, we'll move on to this segment we're going to call Buy or Sell. I'm going to give you a statement. You tell me if you're buying it or selling it. And we'll start with what we saw transpire in Baltimore yesterday. The Ravens escaped the Rams in overtime. Oddly enough, with Patrick Mahomes bitching about all the calls, if you watch back that replay of the punt return, there's about 4 blocking the backs that they missed.
You know what's weird? I was going to say, it's funny you bring that up. I was thinking this last night. There was a block in the back, I guess, on one of Philly's punt returns or something.
Yep.
And I don't know if they're letting it used to be, dude, in the NFL, if you got them on the side and it was anywhere close, they threw a flag. I'm telling you, there had to be some kind of, and the officials probably aren't announcing it, some kind of point of emphasis of, like, hey, if we're going to call these, it needs to be a block in the back, not in the side or whatever, because I saw that return and I was like, my God, you could have called 3 of them on that.
It was really bad.
And then I see some in games, you're just so used to this stuff being called, and maybe the league said, hey, look, we're tired of these penalties on the punts where it's like no one's returning kicks anymore because they throw these penalties and flags, and it's just maybe they want, I don't know. It just seems that way. Maybe I'm way off, but it used to be like you saw a block in the back or anything close to it, there was 3 flags on the ground. Now And I don't think that my eyes are any different looking at those. It seems like they're letting stuff go.
I don't think you're way off. I think you're actually right. We saw it yesterday. We were like, oh, they had to have thrown that, right? And then, like, nothing. Like, there's nothing there. To your point, too, a weird thing just on a side note, yesterday in the Dallas game, there were 3, you mentioned it, there were 3 penalties called on Dallas, all 3 penalties that were picked up, and they were, like, all big plays. It was really odd. Like,
big plays, yeah.
There was
two touchdowns.
Two touchdowns,
yeah.
and there was one that was, I believe, thrown on a first down, and it was like a screen pass, and they threw a flag for a legal man downfield when you couldn't have even been. Like, no offensive lineman could have gotten downfield
it was
that
catch
quickly.
And throw.
Yeah,
That's why McCarthy was like, how are you going to say he's downfield
Yeah.
and threw that within a second? Yeah.
But just odd things from officials this week. But we'll move on to this. Ravens do escape despite getting away with some penalties on that return. It was not pretty for the Ravens, but I think the story in the game actually was the Rams. The Rams offense, despite playing what many people think is probably the second best defense in the league behind the Cleveland Browns, definitely a top 5 defense are the Ravens. Stafford threw for 303 touchdowns. Kupp had 100+ and a touchdown. The Rams put up 31 points in the game and damn near won because of their offense. Buy or sell, the Rams can make some noise if they sneak in the playoffs.
I'm going to sell it only because I think they can potentially sneak in. Any matchup they have, I don't think they're going to win. But, I mean, I do think they can sneak in. But if they end up playing the Cowboys, well, I say that. I don't know. Maybe, I could see them playing. Could they end up match up against Dallas or no?
They could because, and in fact, well, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, here's how they could. If they get in, they're probably going to be matched up against either Philly or Dallas because if they get in, they will likely be the 7 seed,
right.
And Dallas or Philly will be the 2 seed.
Yeah, so, because the Niners will get the 1.
Right.
Yeah, they can't. I definitely don't see them winning the game in Dallas if they had to go play a playoff game there.
Right.
And against Philly, maybe somewhat of a close game, but I still think Philly in the postseason ends up beating them. So I think they do have potential to sneak in. I think they could do it. I think they could finish ahead of the Seahawks and get that. Right now in the playoffs, are them and the Seahawks in the wild card, or the Seahawks drop out?
The Seahawks are behind the Rams because the Rams beat them both times, I believe. So they hold the tiebreaker over Seattle, and Seattle lost this week as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're like the Eagles, I think you would much rather see the Seahawks than the Rams just because
100%.
The Rams do have some firepower. But, yeah, I'm going to say they can sneak in. I would actually make the prediction that they do get in, but I just don't see them winning against either Dallas or Philly.
I think they're going to get into, it looks like right now they would be the 7 seed behind. The Vikings are the 6 and the Eagles right now are the 5. But I do think I would buy it if they play the Eagles. They played once earlier. It was a 9-point game, but Philly has looked significantly worse than then, and LA's looked a lot better. I just think, I've expected Stafford to come back down to earth. But he just won't. He just keeps playing really good. Like, he's having a resurgence. I don't know if it's like, if this is the surge where, like, he's about to die, like he's about to retire and this is it. So this is his last little push. But, man, he's slinging the ball around out there. And you got 2 weapons like Kupp and Nakua, and, that's hard to cover. I mean, and you think about the matchup. The Eagles have one of the worst pass defenses in football. You get matched up against a team who slings the ball around like that. It's like, basically, can the Rams defense get some stops? Because if they can, they have a chance to win the game.
No, I think they could definitely play them in a close game. And obviously, the odds would say the same thing. I don't think they would win the game, but I agree with you. I think it could be a good game. Don't think they'd give Dallas too much of a game in Dallas.
I don't think so either. I think that would be the difference. But, you got a Super Bowl coach, a Super Bowl quarterback, and a Super Bowl MVP in McVay, Stafford, and Kupp. So you never know when they get in the playoffs what could happen. Championship
and people
pedigree.
were ready to bury them dead to rights earlier in the year.
Yes, they were.
Like, oh, we got to are they going to get rid of McVay and this and that and the other? And
my dad's take 3 weeks ago was McVay's going to retire at the end of this year. Guy's fucking 38.
Try to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Number 2, buy or sell. So we've got the Bears 2-1 since Justin Fields has come back from injury. Really should be 3-0. They gave away a 10-point lead in the final 3 minutes a couple weeks ago against the Lions. But Justin Fields playing much better. He was 19 of 33, 223 yards throwing, and a passing touchdown, 12 rushes for 58 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Buy or sell, Justin Fields can be a franchise quarterback.
It's a tough one, man. I'd probably sell it just because there's been too much inconsistency so far in his career. But if I'm a team like the Falcons, I'm definitely giving it a chance. And because I think they're going to ask, I think you would probably be able to get him for like a second round pick, probably. That would be my guess. That would be I don't think they're going to be able to get a first for him, but I think they'd probably give him up for a second. And I could be way off on that, but that would be my guess. And then I think you're going to see the Bears, who have Carolina's pick. We've talked about it. They're just going to go out and get Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, look, we're going to go for a franchise quarterback and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Because I do think they like a lot of things about Fields, but when you're in that position and you do have that pick, you just got to do it and hope that Williams turns into, a top 10 quarterback in the league.
How dumb are the Patriots for winning last week when they're one game behind the Panthers for that or for the Bears, really?
We talked about it. I mean, it's like, Belichick just doesn't give a shit. He's going to go out there and try to win. So
dumb, dude. Yeah, I would sell Justin Fields as a franchise quarterback, but I do think he shows flashes. I mean, I just don't. There's very few guys who play like that and are successful. I'm just like, definitely you want guys who run and have mobility nowadays, but like, what guy, like even Jalen Hurts is struggling this year. Like I just, with the exception of like Lamar Jackson, and he's had no playoff success. I'm sorry, I just don't see how that's going to be someone I'm going to go after, and a guy who's a run-first guy who's not a great passer. But I will give him credit; he's playing much better as of late.
Imagine Justin Fields on the Eagles. Ooh,
God,
behind that offensive line.
Think about that.
Running a 4.
That's my point.
Running a 4-3-5.
Put anyone back there; they'll be the MVP candidate. Shit.
I mean, I guess I'm kind of disrespecting the black Tom Brady there. So your dad's going to see this. I don't want
Yeah,
but
fuck Big Dog.
But Big Dog wouldn't be happy with that. But I do think that Fields, at his best, would be pretty nasty behind that offensive line.
He would. We'll jump over to the AFC, and Jake Browning, back-to-back wins as the starting quarterback. He's thrown for 629 yards the last 2 games, 3 touchdowns. He's completing a staggering 82% of his passes over the last 2 weeks, and they have won both games. The Bengals are a playoff team with Jake Browning at the helm. Buy or sell?
What's their record right now?
They're 7-6. They're one game above 500, but you've got just a ton of teams sitting there. So you have the Browns. The Browns are in the first wild card spot at 8-5. That's the 5th spot. Then you've got these are the following teams at 7-6: the Colts, the Texans, the Bengals, the Steelers, the Broncos, and the Bills, all at 7-6 for 2 spots.
It's gonna be tough. But who's your remaining schedule? Can I get the remaining schedule?
Yeah,
here?
I got you. The remaining schedule they get.
I feel like I'm in a spelling bee right here. Can I get the name and origin, please?
Can you use it in a sentence? The Vikings at home, at the Steelers, at the Chiefs, home versus the Browns.
Yeah, they're not going to make it.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough schedule.
They could go 2-2, but I still figure the Bills could go 3-1 and jump them, or there's going to be teams that can do it. I think at best with that remaining schedule, they probably go 2-2. Would be my guess. I mean, and that's what I would venture to say they're going to be 2-2. I just don't think they're going to go 3-1. So with all those teams behind him, it'll be close. He is playing really, really well, though.
I can't believe how good he's playing. I mean, he cost me my Survivor League a week
last
ago
week
when we were watching the Jaguars. I will say this, just looking at this, I could see the Bengals beating the Vikings next week.
No. I think they probably will.
No. I'm just saying I could see them beating the Vikings next week, and then everybody being so high on Jake Browning after 3 straight wins, and then strolling into Pittsburgh where everybody thinks they're going to win because they're playing Mitchell Trubisky or whoever the quarterback ends up being at the time. And I could see Mike Tomlin and the Devil finding a way to get it done and ruining their playoff.
No, I bet the Steelers would probably win that game.
Yeah.
It's nasty weather,
tough spot you're going to go. You got 2 of your last 3 on the road and against 3 playoff teams, or at least 2.5. I don't know if I call the Steelers a playoff team, but next one real quick. We will go buy or sell. Right now we have Dak Prescott. He is the jumped into the odds-on favorite to win the NFL MVP. Once again, we do not agree with that. We've been preaching Tyreek Hill as the MVP all year, but let's, for sake of argument, just talk about quarterbacks. Buy or sell, Dak Prescott is playing better than any other quarterback in the NFL right now.
No, right now he is. I mean, Purdy's playing pretty well, but Dak's playing better right now for sure.
He is.
I mean, I think you said it a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that we were saying that, he should be up there, and then now they won 3 in a row or whatever it's been that they've won. Maybe, is that right? 3 in a row? What are the Cowboys won?
The Cowboys have won 5 in a row, and they've won 7 of 8.
Yeah. So I mean, they're rolling right now. I would give it to him over Purdy right now. We've been preaching it, but I don't know if they're going to give it to Tyreek Hill. I saw that they said that like Dak, they were showing it on ESPN earlier, was like a plus 160.
Yep.
Then, which is just so wild.
That's wild. It's wild.
Every game it switches. But Purdy was like plus 300 something. Tyreek Hill, I think I remember we talked about it, was like 16-1. Now he's like 12-1. I think you'll see that number. Like if he breaks that record, he's going to be down to like at least 4-1. You would think. Listen, if they don't give it to him, we've said this, and he breaks the record, it's just stupid because it's like, why don't we call this the best quarterback award?
Yes.
It's not the MVP.
It's not the MVP.
The quarterbacks won this award, what? We looked it up. It was like 15 times in a row.
Yeah, no wide receiver has never won the MVP.
The last time someone won MVP, and we'd have to go look, but I think it was LaDainian Tomlinson in like 2007 as a running back or something. It was like, or maybe even before, it was back-to-back years. I looked it up. It was Sean Alexander won, and then LaDainian Tomlinson, and then all quarterbacks, right, after that?
Let's see here. I'll tell you right now. Let's see. I know that a kicker has won it before, but a wide receiver has never.
It was the 80s, yeah.
Last one to win it, non-quarterback, was 2012 Adrian Peterson.
That's right. Okay.
And then
you got to go
before
back
that,
to
you go all the way back to, you were right. Let's 2006 LaDainian Tomlinson, 2005 was Sean Alexander, and then 2000 was Marshall Faulk. So we've seen 4 running backs.
It's been 10 years since a running back has won.
Yes.
And there's never been a receiver.
Never been a receiver.
Yeah, I mean, if Tyreek Hill breaks it, I think, and most people would agree that he's obviously the best receiver in the league, but probably the most just unguardable guy. And if he breaks that record, then he'll give it to him. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's like, listen, the quarterback, like Dak's having a great year, right? But there's been other seasons where these quarterbacks win it that the numbers are like, 30% better than Dak's numbers, right? So, why not give it to the guy that set a record?
I know. And the guy who literally, you also just think about the fact that, I know Dak is really good, and I know Purdy's playing really good, but they're the 2 favorites. Let's be real here. Last year, the Cowboys went without Dak Prescott for 4 games. They went, or without 5 games. They went 4-1 in those games with Cooper Rush. Brock Purdy is a 4-string quarterback. Kyle Shanahan has won with anybody in that system. If you take those 2 dudes off the team, they're still really solid. They're still going to win football games.
Yeah.
I could argue.
Garoppolo went to a Super Bowl.
Right. Jimmy, exactly. I could argue with you that if you take Tyreek Hill off that offense, that they are a 500 football team. Legitimately, they are a completely different offense. Tua's irrelevant. I mean, this dude single-handedly vaulted Tua into the MVP race in the beginning of the year. I mean, it's a joke.
And we have to say, too, we believe, as we talked about it a little bit, when Calvin Johnson broke that record, he probably wasn't even being looked at for MVP because the team was so damn bad.
And yet Dolphins...
Stafford was throwing the ball 50 times a game, and he was just throwing it up to Calvin Johnson.
Right.
So the Dolphins are the number 1 seed right now, right? Or whatever.
They're number 2 behind the Ravens, I think. But if they win tonight, I think they jump back to number 1.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. And he's the best receiver on the best team, and he could potentially set an NFL record. You have to give it to him. Yeah. I don't get... I would assume that, I don't know if the Vegas odds makers are just putting that up because they think they're only going to give it to a quarterback, but as a football writer or whoever votes on that now, you would think your vote had to be for Tyreek Hill.
You would think so, but how the media drives what happens. I mean, they basically were gonna give the Heisman to Bo Nix if Oregon had beat Washington in that game, even though Jaden Daniels was by far and away the best college player the entire year. So it's just the media decides it, and that's just what happens, unfortunately. I hope that they get it right and give it to Tyreek Hill. The guy is absolutely the most sensational wide receiver I've seen in my lifetime play.
Yeah.
I'm sure with Jerry Rice and some other guys, but this could be the greatest season in the history of football by a position. we're seeing something that we've never seen before. Teams know what they're going to do and continually cannot stop him because he's that good. It's just ridiculous. We'll go last one real quick. Speaking of odds-on favorite, the Ravens are currently the odds-on favorite to win the AFC. Are you buying or selling the Ravens as the best team in the AFC right now?
I guess you have to buy it because I think that they're better than the Dolphins. Like if they played, I think I'd probably take the Ravens to beat them. The Chiefs have lost 2 in a row. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I'd say yes. I mean, I'm going to stick to my guns like we talked about before, where it's like I've just kind of been in the Buffalo camp for so long where I'm like, if they somehow do make the playoffs, I'll pick them to go to the Super Bowl just because it'd be more fun that way. And I genuinely do think that if the Bills played the Ravens on a neutral field, the Bills would beat them in the playoffs.
No, I think
now,
you're right.
If they have to go to Baltimore, it's going to be tougher, obviously, but I do think the Bills can definitely beat them. So,
yeah.
But to say that they're favorites right now, I would say I would buy that because I think they have to be. I don't know. I just can't. I couldn't put. I just the Chiefs don't. The Chiefs don't look great. Defense hasn't looked as good, and like you've tarped on all this time, and I think that Patrick Mahomes could do it with anybody, which he really can, except when you line up a yard and a half offsides. I mean, I was like he did it with those guys. So the guy lines up a yard and a half offside.
It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Another guy dropped a walk-in touchdown against, but literally that's probably what's going to keep them from winning the Super Bowl again. So,
I agree.
It's time.
Go.
All right, week. You need to put your phone away, sir.
Go.
Sir.
Dude, it's Big Dog. Just let him for the shot. It looks
Sir,
like
Let's go.
This is serious matters here. Okay?
Hurry up.
Respect the show.
Let's go.
All right. Enough. I've had enough of your shit. You've been here for 45 fucking seconds.
Let's go.
Thursday, December 14th, we start week 15 with 2 irrelevant teams, the Chargers of Los Angeles, traveling to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders, despite not scoring a single point last week, are favored by 3 points at home.
Hold on. First of all, we got to welcome Big Dog.
Yeah, Big Dog's in the house. Let's make
We
this
don't
fast
care
because
about
I am
you.
making money today. Lots of money, and I'm wasting time. Let's go. What's the first game? Raiders versus what?
If we didn't have to do the intro, we'd have already picked the game, wouldn't we?
What's the
Chargers at the Raiders.
Raiders? Because that quarterback is an NFL quarterback.
O'Connell.
It's
your guy. I'll take the Raiders by a field goal because that's what I predict every single game.
O'Connell's stats this year: 134 for 210, 1,300 yards, 4 touchdowns, seven interceptions.
Picked him.
You know what we call that?
You picked him. You did, didn't you? You picked him.
I picked him. This is what I
You
said.
picked
I
him.
picked him in preseason to play in the NFL.
You said he's a
and
starter.
He started. I know. I didn't say starter.
You said he's a starter.
7 games. He started.
He has
So
4
I
touchdowns
proved you
in 7
again.
games.
I can pick a guy off a practice schedule, off a practice team.
He can
and say-
actually.
yeah, I'm not
rumor
joking.
has it. You
I
don't
can-
even need to see him throw. Just walk off the fucking bus.
One throw. And I'm
I
like,
mean,
that
I
guy
think
could play in the NFL.
one look at
He's
him off
in
the
the
bus.
NFL starting, which means that shows you when you all laughed during preseason, or you did.
You know they're tanking, right?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The guy can play as a backup, number one. Number two, I said, and this is the funny one, I said for him to go get J.J. McCarron, whatever his name is, from that, what's the team he plays in the XFL?
Battlehawks.
Battlehawks.
AJ
I say it
McCarron?
3 weeks ago, and Zach couldn't even throw the ball, and they go and get him. Cincinnati goes and gets him next. Let's go.
AJ McCarron is not an NFL quarterback.
Did I say go get him off the XFL? So you're telling me you can't find a backup, but you bring in this guy.
He was the emergency
Who was the guy
third
from the
string.
Jets?
AJ
Who was the
McCarron
guy
was
from
the
the
third
Jets
string.
they brought in? The Boyle guy? Whatever. No, what's the guy from the Jets that couldn't throw a pass? What's his name?
Tim Boyle.
Tim Boyle. They brought in Tim Boyle because Aaron Rodgers said to. And
Well,
I say
that's
go
different.
get AJ.
No, AJ McCarron's not
Thank
an
you.
NFL quarterback.
Thank you. Let's move
AJ
on.
McCarron is
Let's
not an
move
NFL
on.
quarterback. That's why he's
Please,
never
thank you.
played.
Guru.
I'll take-
Championship.
I'll take the Chargers, even though actually Justin Herbert has a broken index finger. That's right.
He's not playing. Let's go.
I'll take the Raiders at home. They care more about this game by a field goal.
Let's go. Next one.
We've got 3 Saturday games, thank God,
What a
because
treat.
we do have some bowl games kicking off on Saturday, but we're going to go with this first one is a noon kickoff between Two teams fighting to get in the playoffs in their respective conferences. The 7-6 Vikings, 5-2 on the road this year, traveling to Cincinnati to take on the on-fire Jake Browning, who's completing 82% of his passes.
He's
Bengals
out.
7-6 as well. Browning's not out.
Well, his finger got jammed.
Browning came back in the game yesterday.
Well, it's probably going to be. Let's go.
Your dad got one look at it. He said it's bad. He's not playing, all right?
I don't think he's
You
playing.
take that to the bank.
Let's-
Give me the Bengals.
Give me Bengals.
Yeah, Bengals are winning. Jake Browning continues going. They pulled Josh Dobbs last week because he was
Doesn't
so bad.
matter.
Another
He's
one of your
NFL quarterback.
picks. He's not.
And
no.
NFL quarterback.
He isn't.
Off
That's
of
why they
practice
pulled
squad. I
him.
picked him when he wasn't even in the
Bengals
NFL.
by a touchdown because Josh Dobbs is the worst quarterback
Picked him
in
when
the
he
NFL.
wasn't even in the NFL.
Steelers.
Wasn't even in the NFL.
Steelers at the Colts, two battling 7-6 teams. Honestly, the loser of this game is probably eliminated from the playoffs. The
Who
Colts,
is it, Steelers and who?
the Colts and the Steelers in Indianapolis. The Colts are a 2.5-point favorite.
What do you think?
Is Kenny Pickett's playing?
No.
Colts.
This just feels like a game that the Steelers somehow pull off and win by a field goal. I'll take the Steelers.
Man, both these teams are so bad.
It's a horrible week for football. Let's go. The next one.
Let me just say I'll take the
Good
Colts
God.
only because the Steelers have Mitch Trubisky. I guess they're probably going to start the other kid.
I could literally throw.
Mason Rudolph.
I could play if I have protection. I could play in the NFL right now. as
Oh,
quarterback.
there's zero fucking down in my mind.
I'm not joking.
Not only
fucking
could you
go
play
out there.
quarterback, you could be the kicker too.
Well, I
You've
could
already
be the
stated
offensive
that.
coordinator as well. Let's
As
go
long
next
as you
one.
don't have Kurt Herbstreit, that fucking snake
Kurt
holding the
Herbstreit,
ball for
oh
you.
my
He can
God,
kick
what
a 40-yarder.
thief. That thief,
Fucking
Kirk.
rat.
I could outthrow any of these quarterbacks. Go ahead.
I
Not
think
Jared Goff,
when we
though,
go
right?
out to kick the ball, we're going to see how far he can throw it because I still maintain I don't think he could throw the ball more than 30 yards. I think 30 yards is a stretch for him with an NFL
I can throw
ball.
30 yards with my left hand. Let's go. Next one.
Okay, well, there we go. We got a list of things to
Left
test.
hand.
I think we should also get a lie detector in here because I don't
Left
think he
hand.
even believes himself.
Let's go.
Okay, moving on.
That's
Broncos.
my new saying. Let's go.
Let's go.
Bro, that's not a new saying. You've been
No,
saying
that-
that for 8 weeks in
Let's
this
go.
podcast.
Let's roll.
Yeah, Broncos country, let's ride. The Broncos, 7-6, a game outside of the division lead, taking on the struggling Detroit Lions, who are 9-4 but have lost 2 of their last 4 games. Jared Goff, 8 turnovers in the last 3 games. I'll go ahead and pick this one right now. The Broncos are a 4.5-point dog. Give me the Broncos on the money line. They will win this game outright by 3.
Go. Turner.
I was going to pick the Broncos too.
to
Broncos
it.
by 1.
Who are they playing again? My brain's on
Jared
money.
Goff, noodle arm boy.
Oh, no. Either alarm will win.
Yeah, he's 8 turnovers the last 3
Just
games.
were they playing in Detroit?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a done. Jared will win the
arm.
game. Jared will win that game.
Poor Jared, man. You just look bad the last couple weeks.
Let's go.
We have all your quarterbacks. O'Connell's throwing picks. Dobbs gets pulled. Jared Goff turning the ball over. It's a bad week.
All
for
I said about those, they
the
can
Black
play
Tom
in the
Brady-
NFL.
The Black Tom
They
Brady.
can play in the NFL. You
couldn't
said
even
Jared
score a
Goff would be
single
out of the
touchdown.
league. You said he'd be out of the league when he left the Rams. You were wrong.
Now,
Let's go.
we'll move
'Cause
on
you can't
to
pick
Sunday.
quarterback talent like
What
I
a
can.
truth bomb right
Can't
there.
pick.
I never
quarterback.
said he'd be out of the league.
Yes, you did.
I did
Oh,
say.
yes, you
I did say Turner that Colin Kaepernick would be out of the league, and I was right.
No, you said he'd be out of the league.
And that was one of my dad's picks
Let's
as
go.
well.
Don't even go.
Let's move on to the
Well,
Bears.
if you do remember, your dad and Colin Kaepernick marched for civil rights, Dylan.
right.
And
Both of us
sometimes you
did.
get punished for that.
That's right. Get
My
rocks
dad
thrown
didn't
at
march
you.
for shit. My dad also claims he went to Vietnam. All right,
I was there.
he
Let's
wasn't.
go.
Oh, you were in Vietnam.
I was there.
You were 3 when the war ended.
You can't. Stolen valor.
I was 12 years old. I went over to
Stolen
Vietnam at 12
valor.
years old. Let's go.
Oh
not-
my
you
gosh!
not
Don't
gonna-
clip
I helped
that.
bring us some Vietnam vets home.
Do
Let's
not
go.
clip that.
That is going
Please.
was right on the start of the
I
podcast.
went there at 12 years old, and I learned how to speak to the North Vietnamese.
Can you speak some Vietnamese for us
I
right
used
now?
to be able to say, get out of my way, but I can't say it anymore. I think it was Shoi Na Phai. Shoi Na Phai, I think. I'm not joking. It was Shoi Na Phai. That means get out of my way
Oh dear God.
in North Vietnamese. Let's go.
I normally don't think he's funny, but that was ridiculous.
Oh no! That
He's
was...
so stupid. I mean, who thinks of that shit?
Hey, make sure when you clip that, you play Toby Keith. My daddy served in the army. He
All right.
gave his right eye.
Let's go. Let's go. That means
Moving
get out of my
on.
way. That means get out of my way. Let's
Moving
go.
on.
We brought those vets home. Let's go. Next one.
Bears at the Browns. Browns are a 3.5-point favorite.
Browns
How
By?
many?
by about 7.
About 7? Okay,
7.
There you go.
Oh man, this is the Bears should have won 3 in a row. You know what? I said a lot of good things about the Browns. It's going to jinx them. I'll take the Bears by a field goal.
Man,
All right.
the Bears have just – this is too much of a step up in class, and that defense for Cleveland plays better at home. They're 6-1 at home.
Oh, it's at Cleveland.
Yeah.
I'll stick with the Bears. Why not?
I don't
they're gonna
I don't think this is one where they get upset. The Browns win this game. They're basically in the
All right,
playoffs.
let's
Give me
go.
the Browns by 8. Buccaneers at the Packers. Packers have a big game tonight against the Giants. If they win that, they've got a good shot to make the playoffs. They're home against the Buccaneers, who are in first place in the division right now.
The Giants will beat the Buccaneers. Your pick.
The Giants aren't playing the Buccaneers.
Who's
The Packers
playing?
are playing them.
Oh, the Packers will beat them. Sorry. The Packers will beat them.
By how many?
I think 10 points.
Okay, 10
Ooh,
points.
love that pick. Packers by 10.
That's the first thing he hasn't picked by 7 in like 2 weeks.
Listen, dude, Big Dog thinks about touchdowns, right, Dylan? He's got other stuff on his mind. He's a combat veteran.
That's right.
He picked the Eagles won by 10 last week. That did not go very well.
Yeah.
Turner,
Oh, I agreed with him.
No,
Packers by
oh.
exactly 10.
Packers, you said the same
Thank you.
thing?
Yeah,
Yes.
put money on
Big
that
Dog's,
one.
Big Dog's
Put
right
money
about
on
that.
that one.
Man, you guys both on the Packers makes me want to take the Buccaneers. Give me the Packers by, just because Baker can't play on the road, Packers by a field goal.
Okay, next one.
Texans at the Titans. C.J. Stroud suffered a concussion this week, but he should play next week.
That just has it's going to be the Titans by a field goal.
Texans will win.
Yeah, I'll take the Titans by 4. They're going to find a way to win the game. Jets and the resurgent Zach Wilson, who threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns yesterday.
Zero yards the first half. Keep going.
At the Miami Dolphins. This game was actually very
No.
close in the first matchup
No.
before a kick return for touchdown right before halftime.
Dolphins by 10.
Dolphins by 4. Close game.
Yeah, it's not going to be a blowout. Dolphins by 7. It really wouldn't surprise me if they lost this game. Chiefs at the Patriots. Rematch of the AFC title game half a decade ago now.
Chiefs by 10.
Chiefs by 17.
Chiefs by 21. I'll
right.
do you both. Giants at the Saints.
We shouldn't even pick this. This is
Saints
just a waste
are
of
a
time.
6-point
Wait a second.
favorite.
Tommy DeVito's
Oh,
your
Tommy
boy.
DeVito's playing.
Yes,
A boy.
please.
Picked him too. Keep going.
They said that you got to pick the game. It's Giants Chiefs or Giants Saints, man.
Who are they playing?
In New Orleans, already said that.
Saints are playing a little better. I noticed that they're picking it up a little lately. The Saints are going to kind of go into the
man.
playoffs a little bit on a roll. Saints.
You're picking against your boy Tommy
Yep.
DeVito.
Let's go.
All right, Saints by 7.
All right,
Saints
next.
by a field goal. I mean, imagine if we actually didn't include all of his talking on here, we'd be done already.
Next.
Falcons at the Panthers. Panthers trying to go 1-13 this week.
Falcons.
Panthers by 3.
Man, you stole my thunder. Panthers by 1.
All right.
They go for 2 on the last play and win it by 1.
Big Dog does not like to pick irrelevant games. Seriously, from now on we pick the beef games.
Commanders at
not
the
this
Rams.
bullshit games.
Commanders at the Rams.
Rams will win by 7.
Rams by 10.
I'm going to stick with Turner. Rams by 10.
All right.
49ers at the Cardinals. 49ers are a 14-point favorite.
49ers by 14. Actually be a tighter game than people think. I think the 49ers, one player with the Cardinals is going to injure a major 49er player. And let's make that happen. Okay, go ahead.
I like that.
Bold
You're
prediction.
going back to your old war days where,
Thank you.
win
You
at
put
all
him on the
costs.
fucking ground.
Win at all costs.
In your division, put the quarterback on the ground, take him out. Go ahead.
Cardinals by, I'm going to say 7. I mean, sorry, Niners by 7.
No, that's binding. Cardinals.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll say 49ers. I just think they had the close call this week. 49ers by 14. Then we'll go Dallas Cowboys traveling to Buffalo. The
Easy.
Bills are a 2-point favorite. Well, you know what you are? You're 3-10 on Cowboys picks
Yeah,
this
well,
year
they're
because
gonna
you
lose-
picked them to lose every game.
They're
and
going to
10-3.
lose in Buffalo by 7 to 10 points.
We'll pick one. Which one?
10.
10.
Buffalo by, Mr. Leak. But you're right about this one. I'll
Yeah.
take Buffalo by
9.
I'll take him by 7.
See how stunned he was that you actually got a pick right there because you're so
It's
stupid.
just amazing.
Well, he always picks against the Cowboys, but he's right this time.
No, he's not. Y'all are both wrong, and everybody's going to be on the Bills this week. But Dallas is going to walk in to Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York, and they will take down the Buffalo Bills by 3.
All right, let's go.
We'll go to Sunday Night Football.
Who's that?
And that is going to be the Ravens traveling to Super Bowl winning author and coach Doug Peterson and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jacksonville.
Wait, is he's a Super Bowl winner and what?
And author of
And
books.
author.
And author. There we
Let's
go.
go.
And author.
I mean, we can't turn her back on our boy Dougie Peterson. Give me the Jags.
Jags.
By how many?
Jags.
You know, I want the Ravens to win because I want the Chiefs to have to go up there. I'm going to pick the Ravens because I want them to win. No, I want Patrick Mahomes to go up there.
Well,
Keep
no,
going.
he's a Ravens fan. Remember,
That's right. Lamar's my way. Got my jersey coming.
I want
Let's
Lamar
go.
to win
Your jersey's
too,
already
but the Jags are going to win that game by 3.
All right, good. That it?
Man, I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Ravens in a close game.
And then
by
what's
3.
Monday Night Football?
Monday Night Football, the Eagles traveling to Seattle. Seahawks playoff hopes on the line. Philly dropped 2 in a row.
Eagles by 7.
Seattle by 3.
Damn it, Turner. Seattle by 3 as well. Give me the upset. Seahawks get the win there. All right, that's all the picks for the games.
It's time for Big Brain Shit with Big Dog.
Oh
You know-
my
you
gosh,
know,
I gotta
Turner,
find this one.
My dad's the type of guy when we were going to Vegas who he had a boot because he had an ankle injury when he claimed that he tore his Achilles. That never happened because you can't
Ripped it.
tear your Achilles and not have surgery. And be
Actually,
fine.
can I say something, Mr. League? You keep talking about how Aaron Rodgers, there's no way he can come back with this Achilles injury, but you made it back quicker than he did.
I made it back in 60 days.
Then that's how's Aaron Rodgers playing? Then you said it's impossible. He didn't
It's
actually tear
impossible.
it. Then how did you do
I
it?
tore mine. I got the X-ray. In fact, the CD.
Your dad's
Julie-
been struck by lightning.
Yeah, he's been struck by lightning supposedly. He's also tore his Achilles but never had surgery.
Okay.
Okay.
There is me with the Vietnam vet who lives right by our house here on Haskin, and we're getting together for a meeting at the Valero gas station
I think
on
Chip
November
probably sent that to you.
22nd.
I think Chip probably sent
I'm
that to you.
there. I have a photo of me there. And
Send me that picture.
Hold on, why would you
And-
be having a get-together at the gas station?
we just decided to meet up there and talk about our cars.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's
Wait,
true.
the Valero gas station, don't go to the one off Austin Highway. You won't have your car very long.
I wasn't there in 72. There it is. Okay. Now, my rant is about, I don't know if I can let y'all post that, but there it is. Right there.
72, you were 11.
There we go. There's a lot older than that. Now, my rant's pretty simple. Patrick Mahomes is a bitch. And this is the whole thing about him being a bitch with that fro hair sticking out of his helmet the other day. And that stupid ass fro hair sticking out, and he's like, "Yeah, man, it's arrested," and whining and acting like he cares. He couldn't fight a flea, man. Me and my band would have taken that motherfucker out, and like you could have tied you could have blindfolded me, you could have given me 16 beers, and just been in the general facility of that guy, and I'd kick the shit out of him. But and that's in that damn wife of his. Good gosh, please. But the bottom line is, I mean, geez, Louise, it ain't gonna be too long before that thing's gone. But here nor there, yiping about the refs. That team has gotten more bullshit calls. Number one, their right guard takes off early on every play.
The tackle.
The tackle. It is unreal. He is early on every snap, and they don't call it. Every end of any play, any Super Bowl, whatever, the out of bounds hit he got, that guy's at it. But if this is a common thing, that's not a big rant take. Everyone knows that. But he's whining about the refs. Now, here's the part I do agree with him on. I do agree with him on one thing, that he's right, that they shouldn't decide the officials. And this is what I want to give him. For the small set of you-know-what that he has the balls enough to go on there, which I have been saying, I swear I've been saying this for 15 years. If you had players and coaches do what him and Andy did every day in college, after every game, but pointed out the realistic things that they do wrong, like that was not pass interference, and the coach says it, and they don't stop getting fined, that there's a leniency from Roger Gestapo, the worst commissioner ever, that guy. He's a joke. He's a joke. Can't believe they keep him involved just because he makes some money. They don't like him. And if you said to them, we're going to be able to have some ref complaints. Number one, it would stop. The refs would have a review. All you have to do is have Colin Hurd, Skip, and 4 guys like Patrick Mahomes come out like Tom Brady say, yeah, they need to be reviewed at halftime. There needs to be 3 calls you could overturn, pass interference being one of them, in a game. And if they make a couple of bad calls, there needs to be substitute refs come in. Number one, put a chip in the ball. They can't mark the ball correctly. On every single down, the linesman runs from 10 feet down the yard line and marks the ball wrong on every single down. Go to what's it called, the chip ball?
What?
Tennis ball.
Hawkeye?
Hawkeye. They do it in rugby. Go do it. Number 2, Mahomes was right to come out and talk about it, but he's a little bitch in that the guy's gotten every call there is. I'm so glad he lost that game by that moronic loony with the gold teeth, those grills. If you get grills like Tony, whatever his name, get grills like mine, okay?
You don't have grills.
I got grills. So the bottom line, I got nice grills, okay?
Dad's got plenty.
I got grills, okay?
Bro,
I'll wear my grills, okay? And the bottom line is that I will say, and I bet they don't even fine him. And if they do, it's going to be $20,000. Just think the changes you could make by just speaking aloud after college games that are horribly officiated and pro games. You change the game. Now you bring an instant replay challengeable because you say at the podium, they don't have 3 of these penalties challengeable. Holding, 5 yards. Players start saying it. Why is holding 10 yards? Why is holding 10 yards? Why is it a contact 5 yards and a first down? Why isn't it just 5 yards? Well, they'll do it every time. How about the third time it occurs on a team? It's 10 yards. It's 10 yards and first down. 5 yards and first down, where they hold the receiver off the line. You change the game. They're making it boring. 1st and 20 is not fun to watch on everything. And the last thing is this, and I'm done. What is anybody bringing the ball out for kickoffs? You get a penalty every single time. If you look at why is any special teams coach ever telling anybody to run the ball out? Do they ever make it past the 25 or 30? Never. There's my rant. Big Dog will have his own show soon.
No, you won't.
Oh, shit, yeah. We'll do my own show. I don't know when I'm going to
get your own show.
Well, we'll think about it.
Bullshit.
I need to get my own
This
show.
is probably what he's been. The plans the whole
This is
time.
why-
Yeah, he's just gonna have his own show. It's just gonna be him up there.
Big
screaming
Dog
and yelling at
rants,
people.
and then we're going to pick the girls on IQ level that they're showing in these games. We're going to pick their IQ levels, and it's the guys too, like the guy in the Cowboys that Stephen A. puts on that has his girlfriend at the game when he's married. Man, what a moron. And he's sitting there crying for the cameras. But also I want to pick some IQ levels coming up because there are some damn dumb fans out there. There's some damn dumb fanatics, okay? So we're going to call Pick the IQ game on Big Dog segment. You're going to show me a picture. I'm going to pick the guy's IQ, and if he scores higher, I'm going to give him $10,000.
You don't have $10,000.
That's very generous.
We're gonna
And
do
if
one.
but if he
generous
scores,
of you, Big
if
Dog.
I pick 89 and he comes in at 82, he pays me every number in $1,000 bills, but up to that number. If it's 7, he comes in at 82, and I pick 89, he owes me $7,000.
It's an interesting game there, Big Dog. Back in your
Pick the
band,
Fanatics
back in
IQ.
your band days, you think you could outdrink me?
I wasn't a drinker.
Oh, I thought you said you had 16 beers.
No, I said if you put 16
Oh,
beers in
okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah, I never drank much, but when I did, I drank like a man.
Okay.
All right?
I feel
When I
you.
drank like a man. I mean, I tell you, we don't drink to get drunk. We drink to go to Jim Morrison's stage. There's stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 5 where you're fucking seeing stars. That's what you drink to do. So, yeah, when I drink, I'm not going to get buzzed and kind of get fucked up. When I get drunk, back in those days, we drank to Morrison level. Morrison saw stars and you see fucking pink elephants. That's what you drink to see, okay? You don't drink to get drunk. You drink so you can't drive because you can't even fucking walk. All right? If you're going to drink, do it like a man.
That's a good life lesson for the kids.
All right.
at home
All
that are
you
out there.
kids out there.
All you kids at home. Just
All right?
all you
One
gotta
night we
do
saw
is-
pink elephants, okay? That's what we drink to.
Wait, hold on. Before you go, we're going to do one game real quick.
Hurry up.
In honor of the bowl season starting on Saturday,
Oh, yeah, this is good.
I'm going to give you a name of a bowl game.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me whether it's real or fake.
Go.
Okay? So we'll start, and we'll let
hurry up.
we'll let each of you go. So I'm going to give
He goes first.
Okay, hold on. So I'll start with this is either a bowl game this year or it's not a bowl game at all. Ready?
Go.
All right. We've got the let's see here. We've got the Quick Lane Bowl. Is that a bowl?
Yes, it's a bowl.
It is a bowl.
That is a bowl. That's 1 for 1 for each of you.
And
Good
it's
job.
in Detroit.
Next
Okay.
one.
We've got the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
No. Not
It
a bowl.
is a bowl.
It is a bowl game. That is a bowl game. Turner is 2 for 2. Okay, my dad is not. All right, we've got the Campbell Soup Bowl.
Not a bowl.
I don't think it's a bowl.
It is not a bowl. Good. Turner's 3 for 3. Okay, we've got the Royal Stag Key West Bowl.
Not a bowl.
It's too random not to be a bowl. It
I
is a
know.
bowl game.
It is not. I made it up.
Royal Stag. That's the most random shit ever.
I got Turner
I don't know
on
how
one.
you
I didn't
got
think
me.
I was going to get Turner on any of them. The Pop-Tarts Bowl.
No.
That's
Wait,
definitely,
wait.
that's definitely fake.
No, not a bowl.
That is real. That
Oh,
is
so
a
my
real
brother
bowl game.
Remember I told you
Yeah,
that my
that's
brother was
real.
fucking with me saying that Notre Dame was going to the Pop-Tart
That
Bowl?
is a
That's
real.
And I was like,
stupid
no
as
way.
ever. What else?
That is a
now you're
real-
What
stumping
else?
me.
But it's actually NC State and Kansas State. They're playing in the Pop-Tarts
Stupid.
Bowl. That is a real bowl game.
Love
Next
it.
one.
The famous Toastery Bowl.
No, there's the Tostitos bowl. There's not a Toastery bowl.
It's
no.
called the Toastery?
The famous Toastery Bowl.
No.
Yes.
That is a bowl game. That
It's,
is a bowl
it's got to
game.
be in Idaho. It's probably the old famous Idaho potato
Okay,
bowl.
I'm
They
gonna
changed it.
I'm gonna mix in real quick. I'm gonna mix in
All right,
some
let's go.
old.
I gotta
These
go.
are non-current as well, so this could be a non-current bowl even. Ready? We've got the GoDaddy.com bowl.
Yes.
That used to be
That
one.
was a bowl, yes.
Next.
We've got, let's see, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Bowl.
Used to be a bowl. I don't know if it still is.
I'm gonna say no.
It was not a bowl game. I made that up.
Go.
There used to be an AutoZone bowl, but not an
Not a-
O'Reilly bowl.
That's right. The Bojangles Waffle Bowl.
Yes. No, there's not a Bojangles bowl. No, that's racist, and I'm not a racist. I've arched civil rights. Let's go.
I'm gonna say no.
It's not a bowl game.
Yeah,
But that was funny.
you got him.
Okay. Wait, there's a few more.
Hurry the fuck up.
They had the Refrigerator Bowl.
Yes, it was a bowl.
No,
That was a ball game.
Yeah, it was.
It was called the Refrigerator Bowl?
1948 to
Yeah.
1956.
Yeah, let's go. What
in
else?
Evansville, Indiana.
I didn't even know they had bowl games back then. I just thought they played the national championship.
The
in
Raisin
season.
Bowl.
Yes, it was a bowl.
Sure.
It was a bowl game.
Yeah.
Hold on. One more.
Nice
The
one.
Cigar Bowl.
No.
I'm gonna just say yes.
It 100% was a bowl. St. Thomas versus Missouri Valley 50 years ago, and they promoted smoking in the bowl
That's
game.
smart.
I love it.
People were in the crowd
That's back- hey.
smoking.
That's
fine.
back when America was America.
That was America back
That was
then.
when America
Yeah.
was good.
That's back when your dad was serving in Nam.
Yeah, that's right. I got the photo to prove it. All right, that's it. All right, we're done.
Later, big dog.
Bye, big dog.
God bless your heart. Go make money.
Before we go out, let me wrap this up. Thank you guys for tuning in to our 11th episode. Shorter version today. Big Dog graced us with his presence at the end, and thank God that he did, because we got some valuable lessons about getting fucked up and serving your country. You know, what would we do without a legendary
And let it
advice?
be known that Dylan and I do not support stolen valor. And his dad just, big dog sometimes snaps. He can't really be responsible for what he says, but
I mean-
he most certainly didn't serve in Nam. He was, we think,
He was
10
tw-
years old?
He was 12 when the
12.
war ended.
Yes. Okay, there you go. There you have it.
He may have gone to Vietnam, but he did not serve. To be fair, I think he did say he went to Vietnam. I don't think he actually said he fought. Maybe he did. I don't know.
Good point. Still stolen valor.
Still
He
stolen-
insinuated. that he-
Insinuated it.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to our podcast. And we will see you guys next week, hopefully from our new studio, and we'll be in our new home, hopefully giving away our Victor Wembanyama jersey next week in our Sunday with Chris Leak. But make sure to comment what you think about this week's NFL games and let us know what you'd like to see next week. We're going to have a bowl edition of college football next week as well. We didn't get to any college football today, but thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.